So I know that this morning we were just discussing when you were a solo agent before that you had to spend well over $1,000 just to run your business, just to be more or less operational and do the right things, right? Tell me more about that, and how does it incorporate with what Citisphere offers at this point for administrative support?
Absolutely. So one of the things that individual agents have to do is everything.
Yeah.
Like when you work as an individual agent, most brokerages offer to hang your license and maybe a little bit of marketing, some ancillary stuff, but it really doesn't provide administrative support, at least not as part of the deal. Some of them charge extra for a transaction coordinator for a board package or something like that, right? And there's other costs. There's the cost of marketing, there's the cost of newsletter services, there's the cost of time to put that together, there's a cost of, if you wanted to outsource board packages, then you have to pay for your photography. When you have a listing, you have to pay for basically everything that comes up in the process. And when I was a solo agent, it would cost me, depending on the month, somewhere between $800 and $1,200 just to run the business.
And that was just in the beginning. I'm sure the cost increased as you went out with it.
Then I started with a team. Eventually, I partnered up with the team, and then the magic of the team, of being in a team, regardless of the brokerage, is that you get the benefit of volume when you start hiring these services, right? Eventually, places like Citisphere here and my previous team, we build support systems that can be actually multiplied for other agents. So we teach new people that we hire to work for us how to run board packages, how to run listings, how to manage schedules, how to make sure that everything is falling into place. And they become a fundamental part of the structure of a real estate operation. Because you were talking earlier with Julia about how factories have different employees and how the delivery service is different and the customer service is different. And I think that that's a big problem with the real estate industry in general. The real estate agents forgot that they don't know how to do everything. And it's not their fault. It's the fault of how the real estate career has been sold.
Yep.
Basically. Yep. But once you start doing it, you realize that 80% of your time is not selling, but it's moving paper around. So I think that the solution that Citisphere provides is that let us move the paper around. We have already created processes and systems, and we have trained people so that the paper, the admin, the staff that is not selling real estate, meeting with potential clients, we do the heavy lifting with no extra cost either, right? Yep. Because we're not charging any more from a split or taking a penny here, a penny there. We're really a full service company.
Correct. And I think that's actually super important to say what full service company means. And I think it's also important to give an example of, let's say I'm an agent at Citisphere and I have received a client from Citisphere or from my own sphere of influence, dependent. And that client, I work with them, they get to an accepted offer. And then, for example, I need a deal sheet, right? So I need a transaction memorandum to go out. So what I do is I request that through the systems that Citisphere has created. Citisphere actually takes care of creating of transaction memorandum, deal sheet, making sure that we have all the necessary documents to send out the memorandum to either the listing broker or to the attorneys, depending on which side of the transaction we are on. And from that point, they also make sure that any disclosures have been signed by the customer. Then they make sure that they follow up with the attorneys. They make sure they follow up with mortgage people if they are involved. So me as an agent, I don't really have to think about that anymore. And the cool thing is they also, before sending anything out, it's not just random things going out. They check with me to make sure, is this transaction specifically a 1031 exchange? Is this a condo, co-op? Is this a sponsor unit? What's going on? So they thought of every single procedure, every single kind of like variable to make sure that the process is very smooth from the contract signing to actual closing. I love the fact that board packages get done, because anybody who's done a board package, they know it's like can get pretty complex. There's like hundreds of papers, there is tax returns, there's like a lot of stuff that's included. And we have a dedicated person and many times people working on something like that to make sure it is compliant, it is well done. And in the end of the day, the agent is never fully removed, but the work of an agent is just supplemented. Like the agent's workload is reduced by like 50 to 75% more or less.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to compare it like to a restaurant, because I think it's something that's very easy for people to see from the outside. You never expect the waiter to also have cooked the food. And somehow real estate agents, when they enter the industry, a lot of them want to cook the food and wait tables. And in all honesty, nobody's good at both. Maybe some people are. I'm not going to discount it, but you should take your time and dedicate it to what you're best at and what's going to make you the most money as an agent. I would have loved, as the beginning of my career, to open my eyes in the morning and not have to think about paperwork and not have to think about a board package. I have stayed overnight making board packages at least 5 times that I can remember.
Yeah, exactly.
And that heavy lifting we do for our partner agents, and I think that's like the highest value in terms of time exchange that any brokerage should offer to an agent.
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare that the person comes into a full service brokerage and they also offer the whole transaction coordination from, transaction going into contract all the way to the close. And for us, that was like a crucial aspect that we wanted to make sure we have and we offer, because it also provides a much more standardized and a better experience. It's almost like running a franchise, right? Like we know exactly what to expect from the processes. And before we started working on all of that, we actually like brought like an outside person to create all of these processes, somebody who like really can think well on how all of this should be positioned, done, how all of the manuals should be recorded. And I didn't realize that from the moment that the contract gets signed to the actual closing, there are over 50 things that our team does in order for the transaction to close. That includes follow-up, board packages, that includes making sure there are social posts, that make sure that the CRM documents are getting added and saved. So let's say if an agent is on a go and needs to access, they can just do it on their phone. And what's also very important is it's not that just transaction is closed and that's it. No, like we want to make sure that our agent partners develop clients for life. So things like home anniversaries, birthdays, important dates, they get recorded into the CRM. So an partner agent gets a follow-up task to wish the client happy anniversary a year from now. Like when I was running as a solo agent and I was doing a lot of business, I could never remember like to add those things by myself. Like it was like virtually impossible because I just had so much on my plate and I sort of wish somebody else did this for me. So our solution was, well, let's create the company that does that so we can provide exceptional customer service and so our agent partners can do the same.
And I remember so clear too, learning how to delegate. That was another big step from transitioning from a solo agent into actually creating a business, not joining a team, but like learning how to like put tasks on other people's hands, which I think it's also it's something that we have done very well for agents to not even have to think about it. All the tasks, all the lists, all the action plans are already there. Like, do they change from property to property because some properties are special? Of course.
Yep.
But the map is there every step. You just need to tweak it.
Yep.
To get to your destination. It's fantastic.
And a nice thing also, like the way we set up the CRM is whenever the client is going through like different phases, an agent can see all the future tasks that are being created, when they're executed, how they're being executed, and they can always communicate with the operations team. So I think that just like a huge value proposition to make sure that while we all have finite amount of time, and I remember myself, like in my early 20s, for example, I just had all the time in the world. I could stay in the office late, I could do a bunch of things. But as the life progresses, I don't believe real estate industry should be just a word. Like, I know people say like, oh, it's just like one big hustle. Maybe it is in the beginning, but at some point it has to be standardized. There are procedures that should be followed, and there is no reason that our team partners should be doing the paperwork, should be doing operations work, instead of, let's say, spending time with their family or spending time with their loved ones, or maybe networking or doing something that they actually love, enjoy, or that brings them more business potentially. The choice is entirely theirs, but we just don't want like their whole time to be consumed and they have absolutely no room to breathe. Like, the operation team is there to make space and make time for the agents to have life and to do more business.